is just fantastic.
Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be taking a look at a response Idubbzzz had to Asmongold, who had some points about Idubbzzz that he really doesn't get. Before we start, thank you to those who've been coming to the regular streams. Thank you to those who've engaged with the more recent uploads of regular shorts. Consider them exhibition of stupid people's bite size because a full video wouldn't do very well. We're also going to be streaming here later, and to those who don't like the streams and have been deciding to unsubscribe, bye. I love what I do. I love doing this. You don't have to watch the streams. It's quite alright. Unsubscribing is a bit of a rage quit though, which tickles me to no end. So let's dive in and see what the Idubbzzz thinks about what Asmongold thinks about him.
And meanwhile, he's sitting in some probably $1 million house, enjoying, the comforts of a first world country without any of these conflicts.
It is widely speculated, and we covered it on this channel, courtesy of Kino Casino and many a Reddit user, that he, Idubbzzz, and his husband, Anissa, are no longer enjoying the luxuries of living in California, and are living in the basement at Anissa's house, until Anissa gets bored of him being the cameraman to her only super fibro-fed adult film actor content and of course her Twitch streams, and then she ditches him. There is an argument though that because of where he has been living in the past, he has in fact benefited from that separation, so he hasn't been able to experience it firsthand. And we also know that especially because a lot of his information comes from a biased perspective consuming documentaries and knowledge gained from GeoGuessr.
I have none of the consequences of living in a city or country that's being
I could just leave it with that really, and this video would be very, very short. I could have done this as a short, in fact. Idubbzzz, like many a content creator, when they've made a lot of money, the first thing they've done is gone somewhere more expensive. Not just because of the symbol it represents, but because they have the ability then to network with fellow peers, many of which Idubbzzz doesn't have any left. They've ditched him. He's not in communication with. Hell, I could put money on him not having regular communication with the likes of Hassan Piker. Why? Because Idubbzzz isn't relevant enough for him. That's important. You could argue Idubbzzz threw his entire career away on principle. No, he threw it away because pussy. He threw it away because he is a pussy. He threw it away because once somebody that had conviction and the mind to give thought to what he was doing is allowing others to tell him instead. He called it growing up. I'm not entirely convinced.
I guess, I don't know if he would say this, but it's kind of the implication is that it's being overrun or terrorized by immigrants.
Many cities around the world, capital cities no less, are being overrun. They are considered the magnum opus of that country. Many that come to the United Kingdom, for example, are going straight to London. Why? Because they think London is the land of opportunity. It's not. London's a shithole. But go figure, to placate those who come here illegally, tens of millions are spent daily to give them a decent place to live. 4-star hotels in Canary Wharf, along with many other hotels up and down the country that have been commandeered, which has then led to many of those people taking up delivery jobs to make money, all of which is not right nor acceptable. In the United States, it is happening in many cities because obviously your capital is DC, and it's happening there as well to an extent. You may not have seen it because of where you were in the state of California and when you were in California. You do benefit from having at that time lived in one of the biggest states in the country. Still a shithole. Across Europe, when we covered you last week, you mentioned Rome. Rome is turning into a dive. Paris, no different. Madrid, no different. I would insert Munich, but Germans seem to have an odd grip on the situation. I say odd grip, not a complete one, an odd one. And Sweden is completely annihilated, so let's not talk about that. But we will happily in the United Kingdom take all the women. Not Greta Thunberg though. She's no, not Greta. You can keep Greta. If you didn't see that, that doesn't mean it didn't happen or is not happening. It just means you benefit from the privilege of not being able to see with your own two eyes. For when you had glasses.
But it's like I said before, like, that's the fucking privilege that you have.
Have being the important aspect of that. Had is what it becomes when you turn into what my country is becoming. a government that cares little for free speech and cares so little about the indigenous folk that they'll willingly sell them up the river to appease those who come here illegally as opposed to those who come here legally, under the guise of smashing the gangs and not accomplishing it, sending the dinghies all the way back to France so it can be rinsed and repeated. Also, just because it's a privilege doesn't mean you should be so quick to give it up. So quick to give up the privilege means you are not giving much thought to consequence of giving up privilege. For a country that is somewhat ironically all about freedom, that part baffles me, and it should baffle you too. If you are so quick to give up what is so dear to you, your freedoms, and that includes the privilege that comes with all of that, then chances are you are not interested in freedom at all, but control. Considering who is in office and your views on that person, are you sure about that? If I had the luxury and privilege to live the life you have, or have had, I would not be so quick to give it up. I would do everything to keep it, because I want that. And yes, that makes me selfish. It does not mean I am wrong.
It's a similar, like, argument that people make about the Palestine thing.
The similarities are remarkably limited, considering how incredibly divisive people are over the Palestine thing as you've dubbed it. You might like to think they're remarkably similar because of oppression and escaping oppression. No, there's no comparison, in fact. In one, Hamas need to surrender, bosh. In the other, you have mostly economic migrants coming to your country illegally and taking jobs away from those that would be otherwise desired by those who should live in the country and be of that country. Insert the obligatory, "Oh, you don't understand because of this, and you're being idealist." Doesn't mean I'm wrong. Come to the country illegally. Again, if you can't do that, bye. Enjoy your time with ICE. How they handle you is no concern to me. Again, I'm English. My concern is my own backyard. And I'm not going to tell someone off for being heavy-handed. If they're being heavy-handed, that's a you problem, not a me problem. False equivalences do not yield positive outcomes in discourse, Mr. Idubbzzz of Anissa husbandness. Kind dude, what's it? Although, are you the husband in this relationship? I'm not convinced.
Like, no one has, like, that's something that people dropped a while ago. I'm sure there were people a lot of the time saying things like, you know, like, I don't know why you're fucking advocating so hard for Palestine.
Well, I've no doubt in my mind many a person were in fact saying that to you. My main concern when you started advocating for what you dubbed Palestine, when really you were backing Hamas, came from a place of trying to pwn Ethan Klein, while holding a sword dubbed the Swastika Sword. A tricky one, I will admit. A video which, by today's standards, has been, while a view-wise success, has been long-term an absolute disaster for you and your channel. Going forward, you really do need to get off your high horse and make content. Move away from inserting yourself into geopolitics, born from your knowledge on GeoGuessr, and your wife, and Hassan, and Hassan's orbiters, and just go back to making fun content. Although, if you could actually do that and be a success, I wouldn't believe it true, but it would be an uphill battle, and I'd like to see you succeed at that. You inserting yourselves into these very complicated discussions is interesting, especially because you've picked a side before even giving much thought to it. And much of what Asmon has said about flooding cities with those who come here illegally is a valid point, because it puts immediate pressure on the infrastructure of that city. If you hadn't noticed national debt going up, if you hadn't noticed the strain on infrastructure, your taxes going with it, chances are you were earning far too much and not paying enough to what you ironically seem to care about, under the guise of it being nothing more than a glorified privilege.
Like, you're living a cushy life or whatever. It's kind of a bizarre argument, so it's difficult for me to put my brain space there.
It does not matter how cushy your life is, how much money you make, how safe you may well be considered in the residence you have. Talking about reality, which you do as well, is, and I said ironic already, it's ironic you don't get it. It really is. But then, since you claim to never have noticed, felt, or experienced it, you don't have a leg to stand on. Really, you do understand, you do know, you just refuse to accept it because you believe that is your responsibility. To turn a blind eye, which is not the healthiest of attitudes, especially when it backfires on that earlier mentioned privilege.
But it's essentially the same thing. You're privileged, so don't talk about it. Okay? I feel like all the more reason to talk about it.
Everyone should talk about everything at any point ever. Whether you have a leg to stand on, whether you have any information, knowledge on the subject, that of course becomes subjective. The issue really is, he's not telling you not to talk about it, he's telling you that because of the privilege you benefited from, you don't really understand this issue as much as you think you do. That's the point. You seem to think because he has it, he doesn't. It's a, I know you are, but what am I argument. It's also weak-tea gaslighting. It's a bit tragic, really. For somebody like you who's so abrasive and funny, to be this intentionally confused has me wonder what drugs you aren't taking you maybe should consider taking to straighten your brain out at the very least. Now, as we've reached the end of the subject, I would love to know what everyone thinks. It's a bit short today, I do apologise. Do let me know in the comments down below though what you think. If I don't see you on Twitch, Kick or here later, I hope you have a great day guys, and thank you all very much for listening.